when you embarked on this project, what were your kind of overriding aims for the film?
Oh gosh, I guess I knew her music, but I didn't really know anything about her. And I knew she was a local girl. I'm North Londoner, so there was just something about her being a girl from down the road who became hugely famous. I had lots of questions about why things panned out the way they did and why nobody stopped it. Never really made sense to me. And there was an instinctive feeling that her story was somehow linked to the city. And I'm a Londoner and a North Londoner, and I felt like this was a film about us and where we live and how we live right now. But I wasn't quite sure how that would manifest itself, but it just felt like it was her story, but it was kind of our story as well, just as much.
Did you kind of go about seeking out archive footage first, or did you try to kind of get the interviews sorted? Like, which did you tackle first?
In this film, it was I had to meet people and interview them first because I had no idea what the story was. So it would really be a long list of names of people who are in her circle and around her, and one by one, trying to make contact with them, trying to find out, whether they'd be willing to meet, whether they'd be willing to speak. And only once they'd spoken and I earned their trust would I be able to then ask them if they had any footage. But in the end, I spoke to 100 people, so really it was all constructed primarily out of audio interviews.
From what I understand, a lot of the people closest to Amy were quite reluctant to speak at first. So how did you go about trying to win their trust?
I don't know, I'm kind of quite laid back, not really pressuring people, and, they just, once I met with them, if they were willing to meet, once I met with them, we got along. It was really quite simple. There's not much bullshit or front, I suppose. It was like, I'm making a film about her, I want to know who the real person was, and I would just give them the opportunity to speak. And to be honest, everybody had a story to tell. Most of these people no one's spoken to before. So I think secretly they were quite happy to talk because they had a lot of baggage they were carrying. They wanted to get off their chest. They'd witnessed what had happened to Amy from afar and were really troubled by what they'd seen and couldn't believe this kind of just went on. This machine rolled on, rolled on, rolled on. They all felt she was going to die unless someone stopped it, and then she died. So most of the people, there was a lot of guilt, there was a lot of anger, and so once we started to talk, all of that started coming out.
A lot of the kind of personal accounts are really harrowing. Who was the hardest person to interview, do you think?
Her friends Lauren and Juliet, it's very emotional talking to them, a lot of tears, a lot of difficulty just getting a sentence out for them without bursting into tears. Quite hard to, pull out the dialogue from there because, there's just a lot of crying. One of the most difficult people was Salam Remy, who doesn't really talk to anyone. Don't know if you've ever met anyone who's interviewed Salam, but, he just doesn't give interviews. He's a really important producer, been around a long time, very big exec. He took over a year for me to get to talk to him. But I, made it very clear, this film will not be complete unless you speak. So I cannot finish the film unless you talk to me. And he meant flying all over America to try and chase him down. But once he started speaking, he's like everyone else. For 5 hours, he just couldn't stop.
Huh. How did your kind of perception of Amy Winehouse change as you were making the film?
I didn't realise she was so funny. I didn't realise she was, had that sense of humour and was so sharp and intelligent in that way. Really have a huge respect for her guitar playing, for the fact that her writing is so amazing. I think everyone talks about the voice, but I think there's so much more going on than the voice. Actually, the voice is great, but I love the writing. That's the most difficult thing, I think, is to write something unique that will stand the test of time, that's personal. She's not copying American style. She's really very, very typical London. Lots of kind of humour in there, lots of twists and turns. So I think that really stood out to me, the writing.
I think by kind of, obviously during the film you show a lot of her lyrics on screen. I think it brings home how incredibly personal and how really kind of sharply written those lyrics are. They're kind of incredible, and because you hear these songs on the radio still a lot, you don't always pick up on what she's actually singing.
You just get carried away with the music, really, don't you? And then that was part of the job in a way, was just to strip it back. Most of the performances in the film are like her with a guitar, very, very simple, very raw, no production, and you just see the real talent. The real talent comes through.
What do you hope people take away from the film?
I guess on a few levels, hopefully the real Amy comes out. That seemed very important for all of her friends, for the world to not remember the messed up girl that she became, but actually who she was before. She was this really special person to everyone, and they felt like the world had forgotten that, or never noticed that, or never cared to find out that she existed. I guess also the film becomes about us and our part in what happened to her. You know, the media, journalists, the music business, the audience who kind of enjoyed clicking on those videos or bought the newspapers or liked to read about young people who are messed up but they're millionaires so they deserve it. You know, all of that. That all very much became the comedians who kind of get a free pass to kind of give them a kicking when someone's down. I think that became something that I wanted to sort of just turn a mirror back to the audience and the industry, the entertainment industry, say, you know, are we cool with what we do to people who are messed up, you know, who have got problems, who are not well, and we just seem to all go with it and didn't care. So I think, you know, I'm a daydreamer. I'd love to know that we can somehow make films that might change people's perceptions and what we would do next time. I don't know. Even if it gets people thinking a little bit, it might have achieved something.